Well, to my embarrassment, it was recording after all, but as I looked at the green and the red volume meter on the recording minicam, it's not moving, it's stable. And I couldn't tell whether or not it was actually recording. It wasn't moving up and down with my voice, and it still isn't. So the point I was going to go to with the whole fact that we have a new national American religion based on 911, the 911 religion. This flag, where this flag is a sacrament, a holy sacrament of this martyrdom religion. It strikes me as funny how the same people that go for that whole hog, very many of them, if not most of them, will go on about how they hate and despise Scientology and Scientologists. And they go on about how despicable Scientology is also. And my question is, first of all, when do you ever encounter Scientology? I don't. I don't have any contact with Scientology or Scientologists explicitly. I may run into some people who go with Scientology. They don't make themselves known. They don't go around wearing some kind of a gold symbol around their necks like Christians do. To announce to the world, I am proud to be a Scientologist, blah blah blah, and I have the truth and the light and the way and the only one, and all those who do not follow Scientology will be damned to hell forever. I don't see that happening. I don't hear that being expressed, but I do hear people expressing how horribly and deeply they despise Scientology. Why is that? Where is this coming from? Where are you having any contact or interaction or influence by Scientology or Scientologists at all? Once upon a time, 30 years ago, 1980, there used to be a certain street in Boston, where the Scientologists did have their little headquarters there, and out in front of it there would be a little placard that would say, "Come inside for a free personality test." Most people would walk around it and maybe just snicker at it, say, "Yeah, right, bullshit, I'm not interested." And every once in a while, some person, usually some lost, pathetic, desperate person, might walk in and say, "Alright, hit me with your best shot, I've lost everything. Maybe you guys can do me some good." And occasionally I think they did. Occasionally I think they helped out some people who were really down and out and had no place else to turn, and got taken in by the Scientologists, and perhaps got mentally taken in a little bit too much, some people have claimed. But that, and then there was another street, 2 streets over, across from the Prudential building, where there used to be very often somebody from that organization, from that headquarters, walking around with a clipboard and saying, "Excuse me, would you be interested in a free personality test?" And you say, "No thanks," and walk by, and they'd say, "Okay, have a nice day." And that would be it. I never got harassed or hassled by Scientologists. I never got brainwashed by them. And yet people claim, oh, how much they hate Scientologists and how it's so evil. And they claim that, it's so, people will laugh how stupid it is. This obviously, the Scientology Dianetics religion. Yeah, they used to have the Dianetics book. They try to sell you give you or sell you the Dianetics book. And you'd walk by and say, "No thanks, I'm not interested. I don't have the time. Or I'm just not plain not interested. But thanks anyhow. Have a nice day," and that would be it. And they very rarely would ever try to hound you or say anything nasty if you don't buy our Dianetics book. You will go to hell or anything like that. Never. Well, they might say, "Have you ever heard of L. Ron Hubbard?" And you'd stop and say, yeah, isn't he the guy that wrote that Dianetics book? And they say, yeah, exactly, you're right. So have you read it? And you say, no. Would you like to read it? No, not really. Okay, have a nice day. Or they might say, well, why not? And you'd say, well, because I'm just not interested in that bullshit. I think it's bullshit. The guy made up, it was L. Ron Hubbard was this science fiction writer who allegedly, as far as I've been told the story in the past, perhaps slightly erroneously when my father first told me about it, he said, well, there was this, I think there were two science fiction writers who were friends and associates. At one point they were like out at a bar or something, and maybe a little bored and have a little discussion discussion about the creation of religion. And they made one of them challenged the other. They made a bet of which one of them could create an actual religion, create it from scratch, a brand new religion, and actually recruit new members and have people willingly join their new fabricated religion. And L. Ron Hubbard won the bet. I don't remember who he was betting it with, but that's the story as it's been told and retold to me. Of course, you can just use Google and look it up yourself, and look it up on Wikipedia or wherever else, and I'm sure you'll get the Scientologist's website homepage displayed on your first page of Google results for Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. Whose mother, I believe, his old mother, had a dog and ran out of food to feed the dog. So when she went to the cupboard, it was bare. Of course, if she took off her clothes, then old Mother Hubbard could have gone to the cupboard and she could have been bare. Or if she had gone to Jellystone Park and ran into Yogi and Boo Boo, then they could have been bare. Old Mother Hubbard went to Jellystone National Park, but when she got there, there was a picnic basket. Anyhow, people will laugh about the idea that anybody would be foolish enough, gullible enough to fall for an obviously concocted, calculated, fabricated religion written by a supposedly scheming science fiction writer. How can anybody be so stupid to fall for such a fabricated religion? And yet, look at how many people in the United States have actually fallen for this fabricated, calculated, created 911 religion. Fallen hink, line, and sucker with it. Or seek, line, and hooker. Especially hooker. Is that really the word? Seek, line, and hook. Is it seek, line, and hook? Or is it sinker, line, and hook? I don't know. Hook, line. Oh, it's hook, line, and sinker. That's what it is. They fall on hook, line, and sinker, and I got with sink, line, and hooker. Well, I could like mine better, the sink and the hooker and the sink, line, and hooker. Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and stinker. They fall on hook, line, and stinker for this stinking fucking lie of the 911 religion. And yet most of them will speak in derogatory, sneering tones of anybody who would be foolish and absurd enough to fall for L. Ron Hubbard's fabricated religion. And at the same time, many of these people, many of the most fervent of the believers in the 911 religion, will vote for a man named Mitt Romney to be the next president. Mitt Romney, who belongs to the Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church. How do you think the Mormon religion was created? In very much the same way that L. Ron Hubbard created Scientology, by writing the Dianetics book. So Joseph Smith, over a century before L. Ron Hubbard, Joseph Smith wrote the Book of Mormon to create the Mormon religion. And here you've got a presidential candidate subscribing to this obviously fabricated, calculated, concocted religion created by this man named Joseph Smith 150 years ago. And you don't hear people snickering and tittering and sneering in the same way that they would if some Scientologist were to be, some presidential candidate were to claim that he believed in Scientology and the Scientologist religion. People would be down his throat in a second. If Obama claimed that he believed in Scientology, they'd be tearing him apart and going on and on about how can anyone be such an idiot to believe in that made-up religion. And yet those same people won't have any such scathing criticism of Mitt Romney believing in a clearly, obviously made up and probably a lot more hokey religion than what Scientology is. I think Scientology, even using the word Scientology, because it was created by a science fiction writer who had some faith in the potentials and abilities of science itself and the value of believing in scientific evidence and scientific deduction. And I believe he did create, I never read the fucking Dynamics book, probably never will, but it seems to me that he tried to base at least some of it, if not most of it, on common sense observations about human behavior and psychology. In other words, to create a scientifically based religion rather than a religion-based science, which we have people in this country subscribing to, wanting to have evolution and other scientific principles taught based on religious dogma rather than scientific evidence. And certainly the Mormon religion goes against science in a number of ways, and even more so it goes against history. It goes against what actual history was by writing a fictional historical record. That's what the Book of Mormon was. It was a fictional historical record, which is fine as long as you categorize it in the Dewey Decimal System under the category of fiction writing. As H.G. Wells in his something about things to come, History of Things to Come, I believe it was called, or something else of things to come. He wrote it as a mock history, but clearly classified it under fiction, not under non-fiction, not under history. But Mormons want to believe that their fictional history is real history. So it goes more against history even than it goes against science. And yet you don't see people mocking Mitt Romney openly about this, as they would openly mock any candidate declaring himself to be an adherent of Scientology. The end. Thanks for listening.